I'm Amy Mullen. I'm president of Money Quotient Inc. And I'm going to provide you today a little bit of history about what led us to where we are today, Money Quotient, and share a bit about our philosophy and the research that's gone into the design of the tools, resources that we have, and our trainings for advisors. I'm going to discuss specifically a bit about our true wealth process for effective communication and give you a sampling of what some of those discussion topics and tools are used for, what they look like. I'm also going to point out a few things that we feel specifically differentiate our training and our offering from the small handful of available programs that are out there, and then also provide you an overview of what the steps are to coming on board with Money Quotient and how we work with those advisors. So a lot to cover. We are recording this session and we plan to send it out in a follow-up email afterwards. Many people like to review certain parts of it again because we go through a lot of different, just a lot of information. I will say, and I will repeat this a little bit later, but as part of our process, we typically have scheduled getting acquainted meetings with any advisor interested in coming on board with Money Quotient. We want to make sure that you understand what it is that we can provide for you and want to make sure that we are a good fit for what you and your firm are looking for. So just keep that in mind, that we do have getting acquainted meetings typically before people attend our training. And you can reach out to rob@moneyquotient.com if you are interested in moving forward with setting up a getting acquainted meeting, which would be with Brenna. Brenna is the one who handles those meetings for us currently. So, okay, let's move forward. A little bit about our history. The pictures that you see on the screen right now are of my mother, Carol Anderson, sitting on that swing with me as a little girl. The other picture is me and my brother. And I would say the path to starting Money Quotient started right around this time. So my mother was presented with an unexpected divorce, and it really made her realize that there was a pretty large gap of knowledge and understanding that she had or she didn't have around her finances that was really important to now raising her young family on her own. And that is what started her interest in seeking out financial literacy programs. She realized there were a lot of other individuals out there that hadn't had the financial education that she believed was really important to be successful with your family and raise your family. So at that point, she really became a strong advocate for financial literacy, but then soon discovered the research that shows, even to this day, it's quite upsetting actually, that even to this day, financial literacy programs have statistically little to no correlation with actually adopting the financial strategies being taught or changing those behaviors to more healthier financial behaviors. So this really piqued her interest in why and how this is true. If somebody is going out and seeking the financial education to better themselves, why is the adoption of those habits not occurring? And so that really launched into her research. She went back to school for a master's degree and was fortunate to be entered into a study that had just gotten started around what motivates people to take action in planning around their retirement life. And found a lot of interesting key findings from that research, which moved into after her master's degree, she started her own research and writing organization. She realized that research was something she quite enjoyed and continued this research and work and the development of workshops and different materials for the next 10 years after getting her master's degree. And after some time, she realized what she had developed, the materials, the programs and things would really be useful in the hands of financial planners and financial counselors, that they are uniquely positioned to be talking with clients both about their lives and about their finances, and the connection of those two help to build the motivation to actually adopt financial habits. I'm going to be talking a lot about that in the future slides as well. So Carol started Money Quotient back in 2001. At the time, I was starting my own photography business, and she asked me if I could come help her start this business, thinking that it would be temporary and that it would help her to set up some of her systems, as well as maybe help with the design of her website. I ended up falling in love with the work, really being amazed at the body of work that my mother had created and her passion for this. And I ended up going back to school as well and designing my own degree program, bringing together all the disciplines, all the different disciplines like psychology, adult development, effective communication, and also went through the CFP coursework and got my CFP as well. So we've been working together for nearly 20 years now. And our roles in this organization have really changed. So first, before I share a little bit more about where we are today, I will just share our mission statement, which I believe is really a great way of understanding what we're trying to accomplish. It is a mission statement that we developed several years ago and have not modified for many years because we find it to continue to be very true. And I'm going to read this mission statement to you because research shows that when you really want somebody to absorb what you're saying and retain what you're saying, that as many senses as you can bring into that experience as possible, the more likely they are to retain the information. So you'll be able to see it on your screen and you'll be able to hear my voice as I go through this mission statement. So the mission of Money Quotient is to facilitate the exploration and implementation of a values-based, life-centered approach to financial planning. We believe this holistic process engages individuals and empowers them to maximize their resources and live meaningful and purposeful lives. To this end, we conduct innovative research, provide the highest quality tools and training, and nurture a community of like-minded professionals who truly want to affect positive change in the lives of those they serve. It always gives me goosebumps, even to this day. So today, where we are at is we actually have two sister organizations that work together in order to meet this mission that I just shared with you. On the Money Quotient Inc. side, which is who's talking to you today, this is the side in which we focus on serving financial planners, counselors, and professionals. We teach a particular model that we've created that's based on now 30 years of research, and also share a large library of tools that are used directly with clients within client meetings, and lay out a very easy to follow meeting process to help you be effective with your clients. We have a very large library of practice management resources and provide training and consulting. Everything that comes out in terms of an educational opportunity from the Money Quotient Inc. side comes from what we call our School of True Wealth, because we are working to help you become effective facilitators of the model that we've designed and the tools that we have available for that model. For our nonprofit side, we call MQ Research and Education. We are collaborating with several universities across the country to conduct additional innovative research. From this side, we are also providing the opportunity for students of various programs at these universities to use the Money Quotient tools in their student-led clinics. So not only does it give them an opportunity to see what it's like to run client meetings, but they also have the opportunity to continue to study the effectiveness of the tools in the process. We, in the future, we have hopes of creating a very robust platform through our nonprofit side that will allow financial planners and counselors to engage in pro bono activities, use this platform as a way in their own communities to engage in pro bono activities around financial planning and financial counseling. Any educational opportunity that comes out of our nonprofit side comes from what we call Money Quotient University. And we're really focused on providing a broader topic area here that's really about exploring all areas of facilitating a deeper understanding of both the emotional and the practical factors involved in promoting financial well-being and life satisfaction. So, on our Money Quotient side, we have about a team of about 13 people that are helping to train and service our financial professionals. And on our nonprofit side, we have a team of 7 people on our research consortium. And then also, of course, with every nonprofit, we have a governing board as well. So you can go to our websites and look at the About Us pages if you're interested in seeing more information about our team members. All right, a great way to describe our area of focus here at Money Quotient and what we help advisors to learn and understand is described in Simon Sinek's very popular TED Talk, Start With Why. He talks about a communication model that he has observed over several years of research, and is really looking for what has helped certain professionals be successful in their communication with clients or with patients or whoever that individual is working with in order to motivate action or decisions. And what helps those be more successful versus what happens when those aren't as successful. So he said, typically people move from the outside of this communication model to in, and I'll give an example of what that might look like in our terms as a financial planner. If a financial planner is in a social situation and is asked what they do for a living, and they say, I'm a financial planner, typically they might have to explain a little bit about what that is, because as we all know, most consumers have a pretty limited perspective of what a financial planner does. So oftentimes they will run down the list of services that they offer to clients, such as retirement planning, investment management, insurance management, and tax planning, and all of the services, which would satisfy this ring that's titled what. Sometimes that individual might be interested enough to ask how they do all those services, during which the advisor may talk about the different software programs that they utilize to run the analysis and how they provide reports and continue to monitor things for clients. But very rarely does an advisor go into the why ring of this area. And why, I think, is often misunderstood. I think a lot of people think of the why as we really care about our clients. We want to be a big impact in their lives. Really what that is focusing on the results of the work that you're doing. But really what the why is actually a story from your own life that built your passion for the work that you do. Usually people have experiences throughout their lifetime that have led them to the work that they're now doing. It was kind of a driving purpose for them. So what Simon talks about is how this communication model actually lines up with the way that our brain functions. So if you were to take a horizontal slice of your brain, the outside ring is called the neocortex brain. It is your analytical brain. It is the area that understands facts and data. It understands language. However, it is not responsible for making decisions or for changing behaviors as well. So the why, actually the how and the why, are coordinated with the limbic brain, or our emotional brain. And our emotional brain is responsible for building the motivation necessary to make a decision or take an action. So you can see that probably the way a lot of financial literacy programs, or a lot of the way that financial planners have approached trying to motivate clients, has really spoken more to the neocortex brain than the limbic brain, giving them the financial education, running the numbers and showing them the numbers as a way to convince them to take action. So where we focus our time at Money Quotient is how can we truly help to tap into that limbic brain to build the motivation to adopt healthier financial behaviors. So this is an equation that represents the philosophy of Money Quotient. The MQ in this equation is a measurement of an individual's overall sense of financial well-being, and that's made up of two very important components. The EQ is their awareness of how their emotions are affecting their decisions, and it's not about an awareness of your emotions so that you can set them aside in order to be as objective as possible. What we're actually interested in is more awareness of our emotions, how they are actually quite connected to our core values, what's most important to us, and how do we take that into consideration when we are making decisions. Because when they are aligned with what's most important to us, that's when we feel higher levels of happiness and life satisfaction. So we don't want to push them away to make real practical objective decisions. No, we actually want to take them into consideration. The IQ is an individual's level of financial education, their level of knowledge. So it is very important to have financial knowledge and understanding, as well as more heightened awareness of our emotions, our values, in order to take all of that into consideration when moving forward and making decisions. So our kind of an overarching concept here that is throughout the Money Quotient trainings and model and materials is that everyone views each situation and each decision through two very specific lenses. Our emotional lens actually tends to be more in our subconscious brain, and it's about how we feel about the situation. It comes from a gut feeling, and you may hear people say, I hear what you're saying with all your numbers and all of that, but I'm not going to move forward because it doesn't feel right to me. I'm not feeling comfortable. And oftentimes they don't understand the context behind that. So one thing that we help them to do is gain more clarity around what is the context behind some of those emotions so that they can make clear and mindful decisions. Our rational lens is all how we understand all the facts and data that's being presented to us, and being able to take that into consideration as well for our decisions. We like to believe that our rational lens is very objective, but actually it's quite subjective as well because of something called confirmation bias. This means that we tend to only focus on the facts and the data that align with things that we already believe or have already experienced, and we ignore the facts and the data that contradict the things that we already believe. So even our rational lens can be quite subjective. It is the place in the middle where they overlap that is really the client's version of reality, their own frame of reference. And you as advisors also have your version of reality as well. So being very aware that our reality may not be the same as the other person's reality, and we may not necessarily see all the facts and data of the situation that we need to understand. So keeping that in mind as well. We are humans, just as our clients are humans. So it is really bringing in much more in-depth life conversations into our financial conversations that brings about more relevance and meaning for the client. And when they can see the relevance and meaning to them personally, that's when there's going to be the motivation to take more action in their life. So what a financial life planning process looks like and what our true wealth model looks like is that we begin by helping our clients to explore what are their values, what is most important to them, and what makes them feel motivated, what inspires them, what excites them about life. Then we use that understanding to help facilitate a very effective goal setting process that begins with helping them to create a vision of an ideal life that includes everything that's meaningful and fulfilling to them. From that vision drops out very specific goals. Those goals tend to be things they're really excited about and builds that motivation to then take action on the financial strategies that you propose to help them get there. So with all of these pieces, we have an understanding, a clarity around values, motivations, a vision for the future, specific goals, and your financial strategies. These are really all the pieces necessary to help create a decision-making framework for that client. You can imagine when you have clarity around all those things, it makes decisions on a day-to-day basis quite easy. They know what's going to take them closer to their vision or what's going to take them further away. You often see people spending less when they have a vision of what they really want with their future. So they make much more mindful financial decisions that way. All right. So we also now have scientific proof of the effectiveness of this approach, which the results of were published in this white paper that you see on your screen now. We do have a PDF version of this white paper that we are happy to provide for those of you who love to dig into the statistics. We will include that in the follow-up email to allow you to take a look at that more closely. So Carol Anderson and Deanna Sharp were the authors of this white paper. There was a research team of 5 professionals who worked on this back in 2007 and 2008. And interestingly, the new research we're engaged in now is expanding on this research, looking at the events that have happened since then and how that has affected planner-client relationships. But this study back in 2007 and 2008 showed that elements of this life planning process, the values clarification, visualization, and goal setting process, they were from a very high level. The overview is that those who did have this embedded in their process, their clients reported, the reports from their clients was that they were 3 to 4 times higher statistical correlation to trust and commitment with their planner. These are clients that said they never plan on leaving that advisor, that they're completely satisfied with the services that are being provided. They have completely followed through on implementing all of the advisor's recommendations. They feel very willing to share more of their financial information and personal information with these advisors, and they more regularly refer friends and family. So we were quite pleased to see these results of this study. So we will include that white paper in the follow-up email and are happy to answer any questions after you review that if you'd like. And now I'm going to share a little bit more specifically about our true wealth process. It has 5 stages. They all happen to start with the letter E, and I will give you a high level understanding of each of these stages. Our explore stage begins when the first contact with a prospect is made. It also includes a getting acquainted meeting. The level of data gathering that you do at this time in our model is very surface level, very broad, and not deep at all. So we're really trying to get an understanding of the scope of the engagement, what's going on with their lives, to make sure that this is a good fit and that we can offer the services that they need. Once we have agreed on the working relationship, we move into the engage stage. So there is a commitment by the client before any real work is done by the advisor. We have lots of reasons behind this framework. And so during the engage stage, the main objectives is to establish point A. Where are they today? Their current situation. So you are collecting financial information. At the same time, you're collecting qualitative information to understand this person. So that means you're doing a values clarification exercises to really understand their core values. You're learning a little bit about their history in order to understand their perspective on things, their preferences on things, and really get an idea of what their frame of reference looks like. The Envision stage, after you've established point A, is all about establishing point B, creating that vision of the ideal life that they want in the future, and identifying the very specific goals that they want to accomplish. So you can see these first 3 stages are about facilitating a process to allow the client to gain some clarity, but also for you to really learn about who they are and what they want. The Enlighten stage is the plan presentation stage. So that begins with summarizing first what you've learned about the client, what are allowing you to say, here are the things that I've learned about your values, about your concerns, about the vision of the ideal life that you would like. Have I heard you correctly? Would you change anything? Would you modify anything? Because we want to make sure that we're hearing through our 2 lenses. We're not missing any important information, because this is what you've based your recommendations on. So we have some deliverables that planners use to summarize what they've learned and also directly connect what they've learned to the recommendations they're making. After that stage, and you've got everything dialed in and the client is ready to move forth and implement, then in the empower stage, your role is not complete. There are things that we recommend doing to help them stay on track and to be an accountability partner and make sure that they implement successfully. So we talk about each of these stages. Also, you re-enter the explore stage during annual meetings with your clients. So you are again taking a high-level perspective of what has occurred over the past year, any new shifts in perspective for them. Maybe there's a change in priorities in terms of goals. You learn about any new topics that need to be discussed, and that's what creates your agenda for the rest of the year. Okay, so we have really aligned our stages of the process to help advisors enhance or become more effective with the 7 steps that the CFP teaches. So you can see we really had that in mind as we were building out our model and the tools that you use within each section of the process. We provide, this is kind of the starting point for any new Money Quotient partner. We provide client meeting templates based on whatever level of partnership you decide to have. We have these client meeting templates that act as recipes. Essentially, we are laying out how you might use the tools in your client meetings and the sequence of when to use those tools in order to get the best results. So these are great starting points. And then we help you to do any sort of customizing that you might need to do based on the software programs that you use, based on staff that you have, the types of clients you work with. and your fee structure too. That's definitely a factor in customizing your client meeting experience. So those are a very valuable resource for new MQ partners. Ultimately, when you take your client through the full true wealth model, you end up with these four very distinct outcomes. A higher level of awareness. The client themselves has a higher level of awareness of their own beliefs and attitudes that have always affected their decisions and affected how they've managed their money. When they have that clarity, they can make the decision, has this helped me be successful? Or would I like to modify the way I've been doing things to allow me to be even more successful? So it gives them that autonomy to make those decisions and change their behaviors. And trust me, that is a lot easier than you being the parent and trying to force them into better behaviors. They also have a much clearer understanding of what's most important to them and the things that inspire them and motivate them. They have this grand vision of what they want for their lives, which is very compelling and is pulling them to take action. So the specific goals are also very meaningful and fulfilling for them. And now with all of those pieces, plus your strategic recommendations, specific financial recommendations, they have all the pieces they need for their decision-making framework. So I want to share with you a sampling of some of the topics, otherwise known at Money Quotient as inquiry categories. These are the topics that you would discuss with your clients that are built into our true wealth planning process. So the first one I want to share with you is satisfaction and values. Satisfaction is highly subjective and defined by each individual's definition of success. So you may have one client who has an income of $150,000 a year, and they feel like they're living a real abundant life. They feel quite wealthy at that level. Whereas you might have another client with the exact same income that is scared and frightened and feels insecure about their future and that they're falling behind. So you can see that satisfaction is far more of an emotional issue than a practical one, and each person likely defines it differently. There's a lot of context behind those numbers. An individual's values are what fuel their sense of life satisfaction and are unique to all. So values are really what influence how we spend our time, our money, and our energy, are three resources that we are trying to allocate across many areas of our life. What we feel is most important is how we allocate those three resources. And when spending and savings is not aligned with what's most important to us, that's when people feel a sense of dissatisfaction. And like I mentioned before, our emotions often reside in our subconscious brains. So sometimes that sense of dissatisfaction is not clear to the individual as to why they're feeling that way. So a lot of our process can help them pinpoint the exact reason why, so that they can find some solutions. So personal insights about life balance is one example of a questionnaire that a client can complete to help them think about and bring some of this to their awareness. We say that all questions in our resources, they plant seeds of thought that help bring things from the subconscious to the conscious, and they create for you a framework for having an effective conversation with your client. Another inquiry category is biography. Our past experiences, particularly a lot of the experiences we had as we were growing up, is what shapes many things that are important to us. It shapes our conscious and unconscious, what influences our financial beliefs and behaviors. It is also what has shaped our current fears. For example, you may have a client who witnessed their parents struggling through the Great Recession or through past big world events that were quite scary, and it's now made them today as an adult feel quite insecure about their own lives. So our past experiences really shape our fears and concerns today, just as it shapes what we feel is important and what are priorities to us. Also, it shapes our passions and our dreams. So exploring a bit about your client's biography really helps you to understand all of these things about them. Money Memories is one of the tools in our toolkit that helps you to explore an individual's history and how they've developed their current perspective and preferences around how to manage their money. Another inquiry category is transitions. Change is constantly occurring in our lives, whether we want it to or not. We can't stop it from happening, but we can certainly do a better job at proactively planning for change and building resilience so that we can bounce back from change more quickly. Interestingly, research shows that transition has much more to do with a psychological process than an actual tangible process. So the more that we can understand what actually happens when psychologically, when people make change, the better we can help them progress, build resilience, and move through change more easily. And then lastly, nearly all of life transitions has some sort of financial tether, whether it is even just a cash flow item. And it requires both practical strategies that we want to help our clients proactively plan, and it requires emotional fortitude for them. So we do talk in our training about ways that you can help support your clients in building some emotional resilience as well. Personal insights about change, again, is another example of a tool from this particular section, inquiry category, that helps people reflect on changes that they've made in the past to understand what really helped them make it through that change and how can I use that learning to help me make better, proactively set up how I'm going to make these changes coming towards us. And then the last area of inquiry is around goal setting. And I think it's a good idea to kind of take a step back and look at what actually helps us do more effective goal setting with our clients. We may or may not be aware that most people actually have fairly negative feelings about the process of goal setting. And that has come from previous times they've attempted to reach goals and maybe failed. A lot of times in our work environments, sales goals or other types of goals are pressed upon people and provide a lot of pressure and anxiety, and therefore they've developed negative feelings about goal setting, or they just may have a real low self-efficacy, meaning that they don't have a lot of belief in their own ability to reach different goals. So there's a lot of reasons why this has created an obstacle for clients to fully engage in a goal setting process. So as a partner, a guide, and an educator with your clients, you can help them to adopt a new perspective around goal setting that will help them to engage more in that process and really reap the benefits of having some good, meaningful goals to work towards. One of those methods we also teach during our training. Many people were taught this old SMART goals acronym. Interestingly, I've done trainings in several other countries, and this model has been taught all over the world, which is kind of surprising to me. But if you really think about this, we're being pressured to find goals that are very specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and tangible, which is very uninspiring and can actually demotivate people to move forward. So we want to reframe goal setting for our clients so that they're looking for goals that are significant to them, that are meaningful, that they feel attracted to it, that it's going to be rewarding. Maybe they are going to enjoy different stages of the process of reaching it, or we can figure out ways to make it rewarding for them. And also we want to be talking about timing of all our different goals. Do they conflict with one another? Is it a good time based on a lot of the other things that are going on in your life? So that's an important proactive thing to be doing with clients. So our wheel of life is the first tool in our goal setting process, really helping our clients to take a holistic perspective and think about that vision of what their ideal life would look like. So this can be quite a fun and enjoyable exercise for individuals and for couples to go through too. All right, so a little bit about what really differentiates Money Quotient and our process. I want to give you kind of a quick overview of how our offering is a little bit different than what you might find elsewhere. So first of all, as I've already mentioned, our tools and client meeting process and training are all research-based, and were created with a multidisciplinary perspective in mind. In addition, we provide a real practical process that can easily be implemented by financial planners at any stage of their career and does not require them to master real high levels of facilitation skills. In larger firms out there, or in cases of succession planning, this process can provide a real model for making sure that all financial planners within the firm are providing more of a consistent client experience with their clients. And for clients, this process leads to very unique and personalized results, rather than providing them some sort of diagnosis from the software programs or some sort of cookie cutter solutions that have already been created ahead of time. In terms of support, we provide individuals ongoing support in the customization and implementation of each of the financial planner's client meeting processes. In addition, we continue to provide advanced trainings and educational opportunities to help planners to continue to improve. We can always improve our effectiveness in terms of our active listening skills and our ability to identify relevant qualitative information. So that's something we can always improve upon. And then lastly, we nurture a community of like-minded professionals by providing ways for our community members to connect with each other and share their experiences and their knowledge. And we repeatedly get feedback that this is one of the unexpected and greatest values that they get from their MQ partnerships. All right, so that is the slides I have. And I also wanted to share a high-level overview of what it looks like, the different steps of the process to coming on board with Money Quotient. And I'll blow this up closer so you can see each step. And we will include a PDF of this in the follow-up email as well, so you can look at it a little bit closer. So I will say from a high level, we set up our process of how we work with financial planning firms in the same way that we recommend how you work with your clients. So as you're working with us, you kind of experience some of the things that we recommend you do with your clients as well. So I'll point out a couple of those things along the way. I will say that if it's not a good time for you to come on with Money Quotient, or it's not quite the right fit, but you still are interested in what's happening in terms of our research, you can stay connected to us via social media outlets. And you can also participate in the courses and webinars that come out of our nonprofit side, our Money Quotient University. Oftentimes the courses have quite a few CE credits as well. So those will be open and available to you, even if you're not a Money Quotient partner. And then when you are interested in coming on board with Money Quotient, our first step, as yours might be with your clients, is to have a getting acquainted meeting. And so oftentimes people send in an inquiry through our website, and we eventually set up a getting acquainted meeting. We have a couple of tools that we have you complete to create a structure for the conversation in that meeting that are actually quite similar to what you would use with your clients. And then we hear about your firm, what you're looking for, what's going well in terms of your client experience, and areas that you'd like to tweak and improve. And we share with you what it is that we can help you with. So there's a lot that we go over in terms of what our training looks like, what the different partnership levels look like. There is one other item that is available at this prospect stage. We do have a sampler package, which is kind of like a demo that we allow advisors to license for a maximum of 3 months. And this gives you a small handful of tools and resources that you can have access to and practice using, play around with. We will provide some guidance and some education around how those are best used, so you can practice a little bit and really see if this is the sort of thing that you want to do at your firm before making the commitment to move forward with registering for our fundamentals training. So our fundamentals training is the first step and a required step to coming on board with Money Quotient. We have 2 versions of this training available. Well, first of all, I will say our fundamentals training and the implementation consulting program that I'll be talking about in a minute, this is kind of equivalent to your first year with a new client. So this is kind of like your onboarding process. So our fundamentals training will have 2 options in the future. One will be an in-person training, which is 3 days. The in-person training is slightly less time, but it is pretty intensive. And so it's worth 15 CE credits for that in-person training. We also have a 5 half-day version of this training that is a little bit more time that you spend with us, and it's worth 24 CE credits, but essentially the what we go through is the same. We just have to structure it a little bit different in a virtual world, as you can imagine, to have small group discussions and paired work and all of that. Either way, I would highly recommend that you completely clear your plate of other work responsibilities, because it is pretty, even though the virtual is half days, it is still pretty intensive. And the feedback that we receive from advisors who complete the thing is, I remember when you told me to clear my plate and I didn't listen to you because I thought that, I still could get some work items in since they were only half days, but I really wish that I would have, because I'm feeling pretty exhausted by the end of it. So please take that recommendation to heart if you are thinking about particularly the virtual training. And we do have some pre-work before the training, some things to read. I mentioned the 15 CE credits or the 24 CE credits, and we do send out a certificate of completion after the training, which has sometimes been submitted for other CE credits for other types of credentials too. So just so you know, that has been accepted elsewhere also. And then, so that's the fundamentals training. I will just also mention that your live participation in the full training is 100% necessary in order to receive the CE credits. If you skip any part of it, we are not allowed to give the CE credits. And also we require 100% live attendance to be eligible to be a Money Quotient partner, because when you miss something, it can really cause issues with your own implementation. There's a lot to learn. All right, so after the training, Typically, that's when an advisor decides on which of our partnership levels that makes most sense for their firm. And they move forward with that particular level, and we start our implementation consulting program. So that begins with an orientation meeting where we give you a tour of your new account on our website where you access all the tools and resources. We also have an on-demand educational archive, tons of really great content there for all different stages of the process. And we actually use a lot of that content during our implementation consulting program as well. We have discussion forums where you can get into different discussions around various topics with the rest of our MQ community. And also, our tools are all brandable. We have submittable tools that you can brand quite easily. That's always a point. That's usually a question that comes up, so I'll address that now. And our main goals of our consultation program is that you have a fully fleshed out client meeting process. All of the procedures, all the processes, everything is fleshed out, from prospects to onboarding new clients to what you do on an annual basis with existing clients, and then how can you add value several years into the relationship that you have. We will help you look at staff roles and responsibilities. How can you build out your workflows? We look at creating meeting agendas, email templates. How can you create your value proposition? Really, how do you explain the benefits of your approach to prospect clients as well? So all of that is really what we help you to flesh out in the implementation consulting program. Okay, and then ongoing, as I mentioned, we have lots of ongoing education. Our webinars for our Money Quotient partners, we have at least 2 a month. Those are included in every level. You do not pay additional fees for those. And lots of different types of webinars. And then we also offer online courses as well through Money Quotient University, as well as we will have some coming up in the future with the School of True Wealth advanced courses. They run like college courses multi-week that have lectures, pre-recorded lectures, readings, discussion forums, quizzes, CE credits, all of that good stuff. And we have an annual conference as well. And I think what really makes our Money Quotient annual conference unique to any other that you might see out there is that we solely focus on the qualitative side, your client relationships, how it kind of sorts of, well, actually our annual conference this year, we will be exploring innovative thinking around year 2 with our clients and beyond. So if you're looking at new ways that you can connect with your clients, we're really going to be digging in deep in thinking outside of the box. I think our profession has been pretty narrow-minded when it comes to how can we add value to our existing clients, just really focused on monitoring. So we're going to do some innovative thinking at our MQ gathering, which is the beginning of November, and you can find that on our event calendar. Everyone is welcome to join. You don't have to be a Money Quotient partner in order to register for our annual conference. And then ongoing support, we do have annual update check-ins with all of our MQ partners. So this is an opportunity to reassess your client experience. What is working well for you? What areas do you want to tweak and improve? Do you have any transitions that are coming up for your firm? And are there things that Money Quotient has that can help you with those transitions? Oftentimes, we can share the psychological perspective on fee structures or different things that you might be considering with your clients, maybe client appreciation events. Just there's a lot of things that Money Quotient materials could help you in with your firm. So taking a look at those things and kind of identifying what your priorities might be for the year. We can also do additional consulting packages. Like I said, we've done some consulting with a client appreciation events, educational workshops, different things. And then we are always in the process of developing new tools and resources. So whenever we release something new, they are just automatically added to the partnerships. You do not need to pay additional fees for new resources that come out. So that is a lot of information. And we have a couple of documents that we will include. I meant to pull them up, but I apologize, I forgot to, that lay out what is included in each partnership level, as well as a separate document that lays out the fees for each of the partnership levels. You can begin to get an idea of what that might look like. There is kind of an upfront fee for that kind of first year where we work really closely with you in the implementation consulting program. And then there's just an ongoing subscription fee. And I'll just tell you, it ranges from, in terms of the upfront fee, we actually spread the upfront fee over 12 months if you prefer. But it ranges from $3,000 to $6,000. And then the ongoing fees, depending on the level you choose, range from $70 a month to $175. So depending on the package, that gives you a range. And the documents that we will include in the follow-up will break it down more specifically. But as I mentioned before, usually people don't make a decision on the level that they want to go forward with until after the training, because during the training, you see the whole library of tools and you really get a good idea of what you can do with each level. So we've got 3 minutes to spare. I will take a look at the chat window. Feel free to use the raise hand feature if you have a question, and then I can call on you and you can unmute and I can answer that question for you. Okay, it looks like Brenna provided several links in here. That's great. Okay, let's see. Let me open this up a little bit further so I can see. A few questions from Brian. Thank you for all your questions. I wish CFP would require some therapy training like motivational interviewing. I think motivational interviewing is quite awesome. In fact, I kind of have some plans to hopefully work some of the motivational interviewing into some of our advanced trainings, hopefully next year. Sounds like MQ is using CBT tools, but through financial planner who hasn't really been trained. Could you address? I'm not quite sure what you mean by CBT. So if you're out there, Brian, could you unmute yourself?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just like traditional therapy. Like if you were to go to a therapist or whatnot, CBT is just a mode of therapy.
Oh.
And so it's almost like I'm listening to financial therapist, which I think is great. I think we need more of that. But, you know, a therapist goes to school for therapy.
Right.
We go to school for financial planning, and this seems like it's an overlap. And I would assume most of the people that do it are on the CFP level, not the therapist necessarily.
Yes, at this point, although I do see quite an opportunity for some overlap there. You might be familiar with the Financial Therapy Association, and they always bring together therapists and financial planners at their conferences. You know, the therapists are really looking for ways that they can help, you know, couples that they're working with their money conflicts, but they don't really know how to deal with it. And I do think some of our tools could help create a structure for that conversation with couples. But I have to say also that our True Wealth planning model was not designed to be therapy. In fact, it has a real practical process of simply helping people to bring things from the subconscious to the conscious in terms of what their priorities are and what their values are, so that they can make mindful decisions. So there's a real base purpose of gaining clarity and being mindful about financial decisions. But I will say that when people really engage in this process and they really explore the different tools and have more in-depth conversations around it, they do experience it to be, they will say that it felt therapeutic. So it was not designed to be therapy, but people really can get a lot of positive things out of it if they allow themselves to engage in that way. So you will have clients who will just go through the process at a real surface level, and that is totally fine. And what they get out of it is just, a clear order for their priorities and, a plan for moving forward. And maybe they don't have that real therapeutic type experience, but that's okay. We've helped them gain clarity and build some motivation to take action in their financial lives. So there's definitely, the lens of therapy in that we have used, or the lens of psychology, really different disciplines in psychology that we used as a framework for building out effective questions to ask. But yeah, so I do think there is an overlap here. Yeah. What else do you got for me? Do I recommend complementary tools to use with the MQ program? So our MQ community uses a wide range of CRM systems and software programs. I would say, a good portion of them are either using eMoney or Money Guide Pro. And, there's several people using Redtail. I've heard Wealthbox, like different things. And what's great about our discussion forums is that it has allowed our MQ community to say, is there anybody else out there who's using this, Money Guide Pro or something? How have you incorporated Money Quotient goals into that? And I have to say, our community is a very generous community, because they will share everything that they've been doing in terms of marrying Money Quotient with their software programs. So, and we have become, familiar with different software programs as well. So as we're working with advisors through the implementation consulting program, and we become aware of the software programs that they're using, we can make specific suggestions on, here's how you might want to incorporate this part of the process into that software program. Or we can say, I know this MQ partner uses that software. Let's connect the two of you and see, if that might be helpful to hear from them. So we do that matchmaking as well. Any compliance issues from different broker dealers? I will say, usually we don't have a lot of issues with compliance departments, because none of our materials talk specifically about any sort of financial vehicles or give any sort of advice. They are, well formulated questions for data gathering, so they don't typically have problems. However, that being said, we tend to find that the much bigger warehouses, like Wells Fargo and these sort of larger institutions, fight a lot against those advisors who would like to use our materials in their process. So those who've tried to come on board with us, who are working with those larger institutions, typically really struggle, and they get quite frustrated. So we typically see kind of smaller firms, boutique firms. They can be working with a broker dealer, be a hybrid situation, or an RIA. But we are happy to work with you to submit things with your compliance departments as well. Will we have a more detailed agenda for our upcoming MQ gathering in Portland? Yes, we will. Probably, I would say in August, we might post something. I am about to head out on vacation tomorrow for a couple of weeks. And then when I get back from that, Brenna, our Director of Education and Communication, and myself will be fully fleshing out the agenda. But it's a very fun conference where we have a structure. This is unlike a traditional conference where we have a bunch of speakers and you listen. This is a much more engaging framework where we have different exercises, small group discussions, and we really dig into more innovative thinking to think outside of the box and identify new ways that we could be working with our clients. So would love for you to come experience this different type of conference. And we will, did somebody see my kitty cat? That is Cece. I adopted her earlier this year, and yes, she's a pandemic kitty. So thank you for participating today.